Hey there guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are well, and today we've got another roundup of the biggest news from the CDL and the RLCS over the past few days. So let's not keep you waiting, let's get straight into the video. Yeah, let's get into our first story. So our first story of the day is coming from the RLCS, and it will be about version 1 dropping AXB. So yeah, AXB was dropped from the version 1 roster, and they also picked up COM after they dropped AXB. So here's the original tweet from version 1. We have made the decision to part ways with AXB heading into the winter split. Thank you AXB for being part of our first version of version 1. Much luck on your future endeavours. And then of course AXB responded to this by saying, I would like to thank all the people at version 1 for having me. Sadly the results were not good enough and I respect their decision. I'll make a tweet soon regarding my future. And yeah, I can understand, why version 1 dropped AXB. It wasn't the greatest first split for them. It was a very good team. All three of these players have been at the top of the NA region for a while. AXB of course before on Space Station, Torment and Gimmick of course before as well on Cloud9. They were the world champions in Season 6 alongside Squishy, or Squishy now, on NRG. But yeah, it makes sense why they did drop him. They really didn't have the greatest start to the split. I mean, they did okay in the second regional. In the first regional, I don't actually think they got through to even the second stage. I don't think they did very well in the first one. But in the last two, they did alright. They did okay at the regional, but I can understand why they were dropped. And then the following tweet after this was the fact that COM was picked up by version 1 after this. You can see the next tweet from version 1. So welcome to version 1. Of course, this terrible play on words, but whatever. RL.com will join Torment and Gimmick for the winter split of RLCS. So yeah, COM has officially joined the version 1 roster, and then Torment of course retweeting this in. Excited to play the winter split with COM. Our first matches should be next week in the first grid tourney. So of course the grid is coming back next week, which is I think just before the start of the second split in the RLCS. That's interesting. Be good to see how they play. See a new play style. I think COM is a bit more of an offensive player, which I think will suit them better because of course XP was just a defensive masterclass. I think all three of them were very defensive players, and honestly that's what version 1 were missing in the first split, was just that player that's going to give you those goals. Because I think Torment and Gimmick are, of course they're very good players, of course they are. I mean, they have world championships, but they're not going to give you that that killer instinct in attack, and I think COM will add that. Of course COM before this split was on the Adept team in the first split, and they had a pretty good team. He was with Spider, and I can't remember the other player they had, but he was on that team and they did alright. They weren't the best team in the split. I honestly don't think he was probably the best player that version 1 could have picked up, especially with players like Kronovi dropped. But of course Kronovi did say, as I said in my last video, Kronovi didn't want to jump into another team, which makes sense. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. COM's a very young upcoming player, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, COM is the first player to be replacing AXB on the new version 1 roster. Our next story for the RLCS will be something that happened, it happened a few days ago, but to be fair, I didn't cover it, so we may as well cover it now, and that is that TcCarrell, player formerly of Exet, has signed on with the Susquehanna Sonics and will be their third player for the new split of the RLCS. He had a very decent first split with Exet. They didn't have the greatest start ever, Exet, but I mean, they did sort of grow into the split as it went on. I think in the second regional and in the third regional and in the regional major as well, they did really, really well. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he'll fit in with this team alongside Shock and J Russ. They were already two pretty good players and they were having a very stellar end to the split. So it'd be interesting to see adding TcCarrell to that, probably one of the best players on that Exet roster, and you can understand why he's made the step up to the Susquehanna Sonics, a team that has now been in the RLCS for 2 seasons. Of course, made the playoffs of the Season 9 RLCS as well. Didn't do too well in those playoffs, lost to Cloud9, lost to a few other teams in those playoffs as well, didn't do too well, but in this season they've done alright in the first split. Didn't do overly incredible, but they did well, and that's good to see. And it's good to see that TcCarrell has found himself on a team like the Sonics. TcCarrell will add another thing to the roster. He's a brilliant player. He's got a great offensive mindset. He's a great offensive player. Add a lot to Shock and J Russ. J Russ and Shock are already two of the most skillful players in my opinion in the RLCS, especially in the NA region. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with TcCarrell. I think this is going to be a good move for the Sonics, and I think there hasn't really been too many bad moves in the entire of the RLCS through this trade window. I think maybe there's been a few in the EU which I slightly question, like the dropping of Tox for Vodafone Giants and maybe him signing for Solary as well. I don't know if that was the best judged pick for him. I don't know if that was the best team for him to go to, but he is there now, and it'll be interesting to see how TcCarrell forms into this team, because I think this NA split, especially in the NA, is forming up to be a great split for the RLCS. Then here we go. Here is the tweet from Exet officially announcing the release of TcCarrell. We want to thank TcCarrell for all he did to help Exet Rocket League in our first RLCS season. We wish him nothing but the best of luck in all his future endeavours. Hashtag rep the set. And there you go. You got the nice thank you message for TcCarrell. Be interesting to see what Exet do in terms of replacing him. I don't know if they've got a sub who's just going to sub in for this split, or whether they are actually going to pick up a new player. It'd be interesting to see. But yeah, you know, it's going to be a real miss for TcCarrell. Very good player, and we'll have to see what happens when he moves over to the Susquehanna Sonics, how he's going to move in and how he's going to play in this new team. And then finally for the RLCS for this one, we have the biggest story of them all, undoubtedly, and that is that Wolves, yes, the Premier League football club Wolves, Wolverhampton Wanderers, have picked up a Rocket League team. They have picked up a team in the EU region. Of course they picked it up in the EU region as an EU team, and they have released a trailer on their Twitter, and I'll play that trailer for you now. So yeah, that was the trailer for the new Wolves squad in the RLCS, but then here we go. Here are the players that they did pick up. They picked up Rix Ronde, Oli, and Luis P. All three players that had already been playing in the RLCS split in the first EU split, and they were all players that had done pretty well in the first split. Not over the top excellent players in my opinion, but they were very good. Rix Ronde, of course, was off the Libertas team, hadn't found a team. Of course, he did have that thing where they sort of baited Shift out a little bit and sort of made them put out the false claim that he joined Rix, obviously Rix Ronde, but that was obviously just a joke. But here he is now on the Wolves roster. I think this is definitely going to be a very good roster to look out for, because Wolves have a lot of funding. Obviously, being a Premier League club, they're going to have a lot more funding than maybe a lot of the other teams in the region, a lot of the other teams in the RLCS. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use that funding to help out Rix Ronde, Oli, and Luis. And honestly, I was thinking when I saw this, I was very surprised. I literally saw this, this happened literally this morning. So it was released at 9:49 a.m. and when I'm recording this video, it's currently 20 to 3. So it was this morning. This is pretty much as fresh as you can possibly get in terms of news. And it'll be interesting to see how this team morphs into the RLCS. It's a Premier League club. It's the first Premier League club we have in the RLCS. It is not, of course, the first football club to come into the RLCS. It is the fourth team to play in the RLCS. Of course, we did have RCD Espanyol as well, which did play in the rival series. But of course, we had Barcelona, Monaco, PSG, of course, who have all played in the RLCS. Barcelona already, of course, still in the RLCS, and they actually responded to this tweet, or it was the tweet before, let me get it up. They responded to the reveal video saying, "Welcome, guys." So yeah, Barcelona, of course, already in the RLCS, and now we have Wolves as well in the RLCS. And I am hoping that this actually opens the door for more Premier League clubs to come in and sort of, have a team in the RLCS. It'd be interesting to see if we will have any more teams. There was talk of Liverpool maybe getting an RLCS team. That probably wouldn't be favoured by me too much, being a Manchester United fan, but yeah, it's cool to see Wolves in the Premier League. It's cool to see some actual introduction, and it's a big thing for the RLCS to have a club like this come into it. Of course, Barcelona is huge as well, but for the English game, it's good to see Wolves coming in, and yeah, it's a massive signing here. Wolves picking up these three players, and of course it is Rix Ronde, Oli, and Luis. It'll be very interesting to see how they do with the coaching and with the funding that Wolves have in the second split of the RLCS. Moving over to the CDL, we start off with the biggest news possible in the CDL, and that is that the Paris Eternal, of course that is the Overwatch team, and the Paris Legion, so of course are both under the same parent organisation, are both rumoured to only be paying and offering minimum wage salaries next season. Of course, they're both owned by the same team. And here we go. So let's read this. This is a tweet from CDL Intel. According to Savoy Stream, who's a French caster, Paris isn't willing to pay salaries above the league minimum wage, which explains that soon Nico and Ben Best are left and in negotiations. So, of course, that is the players on the Overwatch League team, not the Paris Legion team, because, of course, the Paris Legion don't actually have any players at the moment. Furthermore, XZI and FGod, the only two remaining players that have high market value and are possibly to be traded. So, of course, that is, those are all Overwatch League players. But yeah, this is a big thing. Apparently, the Paris Legion, of course, probably going to be losing out on players, and this is probably the main reason why they haven't picked up any players, and maybe the reason why, which we'll go on to later, which is why the Twins weren't actually picked up and the negotiations probably fell through. And that's because probably Paris didn't have the funding to even pick them up. They didn't have the funding to sort of buy them, and that's probably why they've had to look at so many players. They've probably been trying to find players who were desperate to get into the CDL, and honestly, that's why I thought Wuskins and Scraps and Parasite as well. We heard about Parasite was a player that was definitely rumoured to be going to the Paris Legion, it would be a good reason, because Parasite throughout the entire of this window, entire of the off-season of the CDL, has just been looking for angling for teams to pick him up. I don't even think they need to pay him that much, so I thought that would be a good choice. But of course, it is a bad thing for Paris. That means they're going to lose some of the pool they had for the players that they were potentially going to sign, which is really unfortunate, because this was a very good team last season. They did quite well. They obviously didn't finish too well at Champs, but they had a very, very good team, and they were beating some good teams. Like, I remember them beating FaZe, I'm pretty sure, at one of the big events, the big LAN event, or I don't think it was actually a LAN event, but it was one of the big home series. They did beat Atlanta FaZe. They've beaten Chicago Huntsmen. They've beaten all the big teams. They've beaten Florida Mutineers. So they were a good team last season, but it looks like definitely at this point, Paris Legion are looking like the team who's going to fall to the bottom of the leaderboard, because of course, even if they do get a team now, which I'm sure they will, of course, CDL starts pretty soon, so I'm sure they will get a team soon, but even if they do get a team, it seems like they're not going to be able to sort of do the best that they can with it, because of course, those players aren't going to be paid as high as they probably need to be, and also as well, because no matter when they get this team, they won't have as much training time together as the other organizations have, especially organizations like the Chicago Huntsmen or the Atlanta FaZe. They definitely won't get the same amount of time, so it's definitely going to be a struggle for Paris Legion. So this comes on to this tweet, which is Cap Noah, who is an admin for the Paris Eternal and the Paris Legion. She put out this Twit Longer, so I'm going to read you a bit of that Twit Longer right now. Alright, so the paragraph I'm going to read from this Twit Longer is the third one, because honestly that is just the most important one, but I'm going to, of course, like I did in the last video with the Cronovi Twit Longer, so I will leave it linked in the description if you want to go and read the whole thing. So here we go. If you've been following this off-season, I'm sure you've seen a lot of talk about budgets being cut, and for good reason. The season was not profitable in the least for almost any team. Put yourselves in the shoes of the CFOs during last year's off-season. You have multiple homestands to set to bring a ton of money. If you plan well enough, you will get in your big event space almost for free, at least in the States. A lot of venues will be for free or at low cost, as long as your event brings in a certain amount in other sales, such as food and beverage or hotel accommodations. Knowing that you'll be making a ton of money off these highly anticipated homestands, you set the budget for the year. The coaches, managers, whomstever else are there, given by a number. This is the amount they can spend on recruiting. So that's obviously a message to us, sending that they did not make enough money at all. I mean, the big thing for me there is obviously that this season was not profitable. That has to be the biggest impacting sort of quote from this paragraph. And obviously it's a bad sign for the Paris Legion. They are running on pennies for this season, and the Paris Eternal, well, the Overwatch team, because you heard there, the Paris Eternal, most of their players are going to be leaving at the end of this season, which is a real shame. It'd be a real shame for this organization to fall through, because honestly, like, it's a big parent company. These are two big teams. Paris, obviously, I don't really know too much about the Overwatch League, but Paris Eternal are a team that have been there since the start. Paris Legion are, of course, a team that have been there since the start of the CDL, and to see these teams fall like this, it's not going to be nice to see. And honestly, as I said before, I can definitely see Paris Legion slipping to the bottom of the CDL table at this rate, especially with these low budgets and stuff like this. It's really going to affect them badly. It's a real shame. Going on to our next CDL story, we are going back to the Twins, just as we did in our first video. And here we are, we're going to be starting off with Scraps. Scraps saying, can't wait for Cold War, grinding every day with the kid, stream will be in full swing. And of course, this tweet raised a bit of a suspicion that he might not actually be looking for a team. And of course, someone responded in the comments here, what's the plan? Returning to AM COD or full-time streaming? And unfortunately, Scraps, he seemed quite excited about this, but obviously we can only be disappointed. Streaming, bro. And CDL Intel put quite a funny gif at the bottom. I'll see if I can show you it. Yeah, it's a real shame that Scraps couldn't be able to find a team, and this really shows that the talks between the Paris Legion sort of fell through. It's kind of disappointing, because Scraps, I think, was a very good player on London last season. He definitely wasn't the best player on London. I think his brother was probably the best player, who was also dropped as well. But yeah, Scraps definitely not going to be a part of the CDL now. It's pretty much confirmed from the source itself. It's disappointing, to see players like this who were playing in the CDL last season no longer get a spot. But yeah, it seems like Scraps is going to be focusing more on streaming. He's going to get the grind on, and hopefully we will see him back in COD 2021, but he's not going to be in the CDL this year, which is a real shame. However, on the other hand, we can talk about his brother, who says here, keep your eye out, I'll be in here running main AR. You know where to find me when you're main it and cutting it. And that was referring to a tweet from the Call of Duty League's Twitter about the Challengers season. So even though Scraps is looking just to stream for the year, I think his brother is looking in a different direction. Waskins is definitely looking to compete in this season of the RLCS, and he's looking to, or not the RLCS, the CDL rather, and he's looking to compete in the Challengers League, which is good. He's going to be getting some competition, which is nice. We're not going to be getting rid of Waskin, the best London player in my opinion last year, still dropped, but he is going to be playing in the challenges. And of course, it is quite a comedic thing that, you know, Waskin known for his sort of snappy retorts. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's main AR ain't cutting it, you know what to call Waskin. But yeah, it is a shame that we're not going to be able to see him in the CDL, but at least we'll see him in challenges. At least there's something. At least he's not just completely gone off the face of the earth. But yeah, it is a shame. The Twins, unfortunately, will not be performing in the CDL next season. Scraps in no capacity whatsoever, and then Waskin just in challenges. So yeah, we'll have to hope they have a good season and find a way back into the CDL. Finally, this last story is just a nice little comedic one. It has nothing to do with anything about the league, really. But it's just a clip from Formal's Twitter of him and Scump playing Warzone together. And if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. I will just show it you now.
One of these. Oh, shit.
One of these. Oh shit. That was fucking great. Oh shit. That was good stuff, bro. I'm so happy you just did that.
Remember, like, these are top level players doing this. It's like, honestly, don't you worry. If anyone's done this in Warzone, see, this should make you feel better if anyone's done this in Warzone, because I've done this in Warzone before and it is humiliating. But to see someone like Seth Scump, the king of Call of Duty, have it happen to him as well, it is a nice and refreshing thing to see. But it's also good to see, if you want to talk in terms of the league, of course, because I probably should, it is nice to see that these two players are getting on well together and they're obviously in good vibes before the start of the season. I think that's obviously quite important. It's going to be important for the Chicago Huntsman fans to see, just to see these two players, you know, on good terms, ready for the new season, ready and raring, and they're happy, in good mindsets. Because yeah, of course, Cold War comes out next week, can't wait for that. And of course, the CDL season will start shortly after that. So yeah, we're going to get excited. Got to start getting excited for the new season because it's coming around the corner. And these two, yeah, looking for the championship title, but maybe not at this rate with stuff like this happening. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be everything that we have to cover for the CDL and the RLCS over the past few days. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, and if you are new, please subscribe. Leave a comment in the description if I did miss anything important. I would love you to tell you guys, for you guys to tell me if I've missed anything important. So just let me know in the comments if I've missed anything. And as well, I will leave all the references in the description for everything that I've got for this video. Of course, I will leave the Twit Longer as well in the description about the Paris Legion and the Paris Eternal if you want to go and read it fully, because of course I only read one paragraph of it. If you want to have a go have a full read, it will be down in the description. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you are new, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and yeah, I will see you guys soon. Peace.